It's been a busy old time for the Royal Yacht Squadron here in Cowes, particularly in the summer. What with Cowes Week, a bumper fastnet, then hosting the 44 Cup. There's been plenty going on. But there's been a lot happening behind the scenes too, because since taking on the role as Challenger of Record after the last America's Cup down in Auckland, the clock's been counting down. The trouble is, we're not quite sure what it's counting down to. But in a few weeks' time, we'll know, because on the 17th of September, the new venue for the next America's Cup will be announced, and possibly some more. As you might expect, there's been plenty of speculation since the Kiwis successfully defended the Cup as to where it would take place next. Normally, you'd expect it to be hosted in the nation that were hanging on to it, so another round in Auckland. But it's not as simple as that. Hosting the America's Cup is a very, very expensive thing to do. In fact, as a rule of thumb, most people talk about hosting it as being the same as actually paying for an entire campaign. So you're thinking about, I don't know, 100 million. It depends on how much infrastructure you have to build, but 100 million sterling upwards, it's expensive. So the trouble is that after the last America's Cup, there was questions over whether there would be sufficient funds in New Zealand or even the appetite to go through the whole thing all over again. So that led to some pretty interesting speculation as to where the Cup might go next, fueled by a project that had been triggered just before Christmas to look into potential other venues. That investigation was actually triggered and commissioned by Grant Dalton and Emirates Team New Zealand. So among the many contenders that have been discussed, from what I'm hearing, there are 3 front runners. In no particular order, there's Valencia. Well, what a place that would be. The infrastructure's there, it's got a fantastic harbour, it's proven itself as being able to host the biggest of America's Cups. But their problem is that they don't have any money. At least that's what I'm hearing. Money isn't such a problem, I suspect, for Jeddah in Saudi Arabia, which is another venue that's been talked about as being a possibility. Difficult to know whether that would be popular or not. I suspect for all kinds of reasons it might not be. And then the third venue is Cork in Ireland. Yep, Cork. Fantastic place. Anybody who's sailed there for Cork Week will know that not only is it a fantastic place to sail, but their hospitality is legendary. But it still raises a couple of questions. As anybody who's been there will know, it's quite a compact place. It's difficult to imagine where they would build the infrastructure for a full-on America's Cup. Plus, the waters. It's tricky. There's no big area. It's not like the Hauraki Gulf. You can get outside, but it's pretty big stuff out there. Big swells, and it's a bit of a trek to get out there too. But hey-ho, the Cup's overcome all kinds of problems in 170 years. No doubt they'll crack that one. And of course there is Auckland, New Zealand. Now, I wouldn't rule that out just yet. It didn't sound too promising a few months ago. There didn't sound to be anywhere near enough money to actually host the next Cup, let alone whether public opinion would allow it. But what I'm hearing now is, along with the government's promise of putting forward, I think it was 40 million Kiwi dollars, there was talk of some backing, some private backing coming in to top that up. Whether that happens or not, I don't really know, but I suspect, as is normally the case, there will be strings attached, and it'll be those strings that potentially cause a few problems. So when might it be? Well, again, what I'm hearing is 2024 is the date for the next America's Cup. That would be quite interesting because it would clash with the Olympics, but I'm told that's being considered and that it's pretty optimistic that this could actually take place. That'd make for a pretty special year. So what about the teams? Well, the one team that's definitely going to be there is Team New Zealand. They're the defenders after all. At the end of the last Cup, there were question marks as to whether Emirates, their long-term sponsors, would still be hanging in for another round. I'm hearing that they're really quite keen. That'd be good. Then when it comes to challengers, well, of course, Ineos Team UK are going to be there because they're Challenger of Record. That's why we're standing here in front of the club that started it all 170 years ago. But things have changed already at Ineos, at least that's what I'm hearing. The team actually moved out of their base in Portsmouth before they went down to Auckland, and they haven't moved back in. In fact, what I'm hearing is that Mercedes, their partner, is going to play a much bigger part in the next America's Cup cycle, and that the team is actually looking for another base. I'm also hearing that they've lost a few key people out of the team. More on that a little later. Then there's American Magic and the New York Yacht Club. Well, there's one partnership that's broken up already, in reasons that no one quite understands, not least of all apparently some of the members of the New York Yacht Club. Their club in the States has decided to partner with Stars and Stripes rather than carrying on with American Magic. I don't have any more information than that, other than it's taken people by surprise. Stars and Stripes, of course, were one of the American teams that was trying to get into the last cup but failed to do so through lack of funding. Having said that, I'm hearing that the backers for American Magic are actually quite keen to move forward, but I haven't heard much more beyond that. Then there's Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. Well, as is true to form, they're not really saying much at all, but the gossip seems to be that they probably would be in for another round of the Cup. But there could well be some more newcomers too. Alinghi, they're no strangers to the Cup, led by and funded by Ernesto Bertarelli. Apparently, they've already been scouting for talent, and I'm hearing have signed Ineos Team UK's chief designer, Nick Holroyd. That's a bit of a coup for them. Of course, Ernesto Bertarelli has a huge amount of experience in the Cup, having won it twice. He's also no stranger to foiling boats, and some thought it was rather unusual that he wasn't in the last Cup. And the chatter is that there are some other teams as well that are also looking into it. No more details as yet, but I suspect quite a few of them will be waiting to see what the protocol looks like before putting their hands in their pockets. But amongst all the uncertainty and speculation and what have you, there is one thing that I'm told is for sure, and that is that the next America's Cup will not be held here in the Solent. It will not be with just the challengers and the defender. All of those plans have now been shelved, and we're back to a multi-challenger America's Cup. So it would seem that within a few weeks, we're going to know at least where the Cup goes next, and possibly some more details. Mark it in your diary, the 17th of September, that's the day.